Stop for a second. Put your hand on your chest and take a deep breath. Feel that rise and fall? It feels like the simplest thing in the world, but you are actively operating the most critical biological engine on Earth. We call this external respiration, or breathing. And despite what it feels like, you aren't actually sucking in air. You are physically changing the three-dimensional volume of your chest cavity. There's a dome-shaped muscle right below your lungs called the diaphragm. When you inhale, it pulls downward while your rib cage moves outward. This expansion creates a vacuum. The pressure inside your lungs drops, and outside air rushes in to fill the empty space. Breathing is a mechanism of volume and pressure. It acts as the physical first step in a massive physiological supply chain. That vacuum pulls air through your nostrils. Inside, it passes through a mucosal filter that traps dust and dirt before traveling straight down your windpipe, or trachea. The trachea then splits into two main branches called bronchi. From there, the tubes divide again and again, like an inverted tree, distributing the air deep into your lungs. But this delivery network is vulnerable. During an asthma attack, the smooth muscles wrapped around these bronchial tubes clamp down. The airways narrow, and that vital flow of air is physically restricted. Because these tubes are open to the outside world, they are constantly exposed to airborne pathogens. Filtering the respiratory tract, sometimes relying on behavioral defenses like masks and crowded spaces, is a matter of systemic survival. The entire macroanatomy of your chest, the muscles, ribs, and branching tubes, has one job. It exists solely to deliver raw air to a microscopic border where the real exchange happens. At the absolute dead end of this bronchial tree are the alveoli. These are hundreds of millions of tiny balloon-like air sacs. The walls of these sacs are incredibly thin, and they are wrapped in a dense network of tiny blood vessels called capillaries. Because the fresh air inside the alveolus has a higher concentration of oxygen, the molecules naturally diffuse. They slip seamlessly across the thin membrane and into the red blood cells. At the exact same time, a reverse exchange happens. Carbon dioxide, a toxic waste product, moves from the blood back into the alveolus, where it waits to be exhaled. This microscopic gas exchange is a biological bridge. It is the precise moment the outside world officially becomes part of your internal machinery. Once in the bloodstream, your heart pumps this newly oxygen-rich blood through your circulatory system, delivering it directly to individual cells. This brings us to internal respiration. Think of the cell as a microscopic power plant. To function, it absolutely requires this oxygen to break down its fuel, specifically the glucose you get from digesting food. Inside the cell, oxygen and glucose combine. This chemical reaction produces water, carbon dioxide exhaust, and ATP. ATP, or adenosine triphosphate, is the body's true energy currency. It is the molecule that powers almost every biological process you have. When you do something intense, like sprinting, your muscle cells demand more energy. They burn through glucose and oxygen at an accelerated rate. As those working muscles generate excess carbon dioxide, the gas enters your blood. Your brain detects this toxic buildup and instantly signals your lungs to increase your breathing rate. Your breathing rate isn't random. It is entirely controlled by a cellular supply and demand economy. Respiration is a constant chemical balancing act. While humans rely on lungs, we aren't the only ones running these internal cellular power plants. Across the animal kingdom, organisms evolved radically different tools to acquire the exact same oxygen. Take fish, for example. They have special respiratory structures called gills. By continuously flowing water over these heavily blood-supplied combs, they extract dissolved oxygen directly into their bloodstream. Earthworms use what's called cutaneous respiration. Their skin is incredibly thin, vascular, and moist. They don't have lungs at all. Oxygen diffuses directly through their skin and into their blood. But there's a catch. If an earthworm's skin dries out, that membrane becomes impermeable. Gas exchange physically stops, and the worm suffocates. Insects like grasshoppers solve the problem differently. They use tiny openings called spiracles, attached to a network of tracheal tubes. This system completely bypasses their blood, piping air straight to the cells that need it. Whether it's gills, moist skin, or spiracles, these are all evolutionary variations of the human lung. They are different mechanical doorways serving the exact same internal chemical demand. Back in the human world, this biological reality plays out every day. If you've ever felt tired in a stuffy, closed-up classroom or office, It's because proper ventilation is literally a matter of cellular fuel. In a crowded room, dozens of human power plants are rapidly depleting the available oxygen and flooding the air with carbon dioxide exhaust. Your brain detects the dropping oxygen and triggers a yawn, an involuntary deep breath to pull in extra fuel and expel the waste. Respiration is an inseparable two-part partnership. It requires both the physical mechanics of your chest cavity and the chemical furnace burning inside your cells. So take one last deep breath. Visualize the millions of oxygen molecules rushing in, crossing the alveolar bridge and powering your life.